Hello everybody, welcome along to the JACKOCAR Cup Series here for Season 6, Round 13. It is the Brazilian Grand Prix and we are here for the second stage of the playoffs. We lost our first two drivers last week in Jamie Griffiths and Tees Peakstock after the very impressive win from Garv, as we said on Tuesday. His first win in the Cup Series. He overtook like 6 cars on the final lap. Just the least dodgy victory I've ever seen in a JACKOCAR race of any kind. And the guy next to me in the commentary box had a race fixed for him on the last lap as well this season by speed drivers. And so, yeah, a pretty dramatic race last week. And we're here for Brazil, which has always provided absolutely fantastic drama. And in a week where Corey has been lighting up the timing screens on TT, I'm very much looking forward, Jack is very much looking forward, you're all looking forward to watching this lap go completely in the bin.
It was going so well, and I thought it was going to be ever so slightly more professional than that. I put a lot of money on Corey to be pole tonight. However, to win the race, this is JACKOCAR, so pace is very irrelevant in a lot of cases. You took half the words out of my mouth as well. I was going to mention about Gareth making up 6 places on the last lap inconspicuously, and without anybody in commentary seeing it.
Yeah, it's mad. I mean, what a thing to miss.
Yeah, but more impressively, the lap before he was a further 7 places behind, so he made up 13 places in the last 2 laps to go and win that, to find himself only -5 off of the round of 6. Of course, the round of 8 is made of Brazil and Mexico, and well, it's Brazil first, isn't it? Let's go racing.
Yes, and we are here in the Americas for the rest of the season now. So hope you're all enjoying that as we, of course, build up to the race in Miami, race 100 of the Cup Series and the Season 6 finale. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing what looks like a wet race in prospect as the Twitter chat goes a bit mental. But for the rest of the season, like I say, we're here in Brazil this week and then Mexico next week after that. That'll be the next stage of the playoffs done. And then up to Canada for the very much chaotic race in Montreal. We always have a good one there. Texas, and then the season finale at Miami. And so I really can't wait for this. This is going to be very good. But you know what? I'd love to see a car on track to start qualifying. And they're making us wait for this.
They are. First out is Corey, isn't it? So
this is not the time to be making mistakes, Corey. We've got to get you out on the track.
Or is it a game glitch? Are we a minute behind once again? There is that possibility still.
Well, we'll see. I'm waiting to see a car coming out of the pits, and here he comes now. Only the 45 seconds late, but coming out onto the track then. This is Corey, who, like I say, has been lighting up the timing screens all week on TT. Does that mean he's got a setup that's too suited to TT? Will he struggle in the race? He'll be looking for pole position. He's obviously had it a couple of times this season already where he's been up at the top. So we know he can do it, but he's in that stage of the season now where we know he's got the pace to be in the playoffs. He's not. He's only 17th in the entire championship based on where we are with the chase. And, you know, he's 21 points off Pete, who's leading. So he needs his season essentially to start tonight. Forget everything that's happened before. This is a soft reboot. With all the practice he's done, he has to get a result.
Absolutely. And you mentioned that about being 21 points behind. That's fine now. But a DNF or a poor result tonight, you've only got 3 races left to correct that in the chase. And to be totally honest with you, nobody has ever recovered a gap larger than 10 points with only 3 races to go. So it's looking very against Corey unless he really can pull off that miracle win, which he has been threatening all week. Owen Wyatt, take us around Sao Paulo.
So, in towards the Senna S's, this is a very easy place to get your lap run when you try and get on the par. Take a wide entry to the second part, which Corey has done, and stick to that curb on the inside of turn 3 and hold your throttle, hold your line as you head onto the DRS straight and down towards turn 4. I know people have been able to do track limit things here before, but I imagine most will just try and be sensible and keep it on the road as Corey loses the back end and heads through turn 5, losing speed all the way up through towards turn 6, and that will cost him in his overall time, and he'll be kicking himself as he heads through the twisty section of the middle sector. Again, this is really tricky on the traction since you're so slow. I expect a little bit of short shifting as they head up, a little bit like Corey just did there, and then The most tricky exit, I think, on the whole track, because if you get on that curb on the exit, you'll end up spinning off through the dive, easily flat, and then the final proper braking zone of the track, and it will now just be flat out to the line, and Corey has kept it all valid. He will be setting a good benchmark. There was that little moment, like I say, at turn 4. Will that cost him in the long run? We'll wait and see. But hugging the line, hugging the wall, to 1 minute 8, dead.
It looked very good other than that moment in the middle of 4 and 5. Here comes Connor very quickly, by the way. Any close to Corey, he will not be. Connor, by the way, minus 25 coming into this as we move on quickly to risky race. A very short lap here, so the times will come thick and fast. He has invalidated Owen, so may as well go straight to Mike Kelterborn of Germany.
We'll get to see his whole lap, at least, as he heads up the hill. He's back in the best colour scheme that he possesses. We're all a big fan of this one. Hopefully he keeps this one for the rest of the season as he crosses the line. And like I say, one of the perks of everyone getting their laps rolled around him is that we get to watch his full lap. So the very sexy livery will get its full run out, or will it? Because he's invalidated straight away. Oh man, Corey's so having this easy at the minute, you know.
Yeah, it means we move straight on to Pete Knighton.
We're going to see even
the
more
chase
of him.
leader. Yeah, in fact, we're going to get the whole lap and half the outlap. Corey's still making his way back to the pits. That 108.0. I'm going to be bold here, Owen. I don't think it's going to be beaten. I really don't think that's going to be beaten, but we'll stay on board with Pete and see what he can do. No toe from Corey, who just enters the pit lane now. And off goes Pete to begin his lap then. Up the hill and down into turn 1. The centre S's make up 1, 2 and 3 before we hit the first DRS zone. And I'll hand over to Owen White because I've run out of words.
Well, that's always helpful, isn't it, when you're only 2 quarters into the lap? As
I
Pete,
do analysis.
as Pete gets on to the DRS straight and already to the end of it. A 16.9 for the first sector. A much nicer exit than Corey had through turn 4. That 1 minute 8.0, I reckon that, I want to say his fastest lap, Corey, was nearly a second clear of even that. So I would say his time is beatable, and he'd say it himself. I'm sure he'll possibly be kicking himself, but the thing is as well, has he had to adjust his setup for the rain that will be coming in the race? Will we be seeing other drivers doing that? Will this be one of those quality sessions a bit like last week, where we did see, I described it as nearly an upside down grid, just because of how messed up it was. And it's a theme we often see with wet races, because you've got to sort your setups out. Because if you go in with a full dry setup, your tyres will be finished, you'll have no grip, and you will not win the race. As Pete comes up to the line to finish his qualifying lap, it is close to Corey, just over a quarter of a second off. But I think Corey's time will be threatened at some point.
Yeah, seeing that now, it does look quite beatable, doesn't it? I think maybe Corey's slight error in turn 4 is what is going to cost him, as we see Jess coming to the end of the lap, and as you say, Owen, the final harsh braking point, not the final corner. The famous is that Glock moment, where Hamilton went on his way to winning his first world title. What can Jess do? Will she be on her way to her first JACKOCAR pole? She's got 1 win in the Kia Series, and up to the line she comes, and it's a 109.4.
Next up then, OKK, and we're going to see his whole lap as well, which is quite lucky. I don't quite know how that's happened, but I'm not going to complain. We get to watch another full run through, and this is a driver once again who, we'll keep saying this, we're waiting for the big result to come from. Currently 14th in the standings, and 8 points off of Pete in the chase, and so he knows what he has to do.
Indeed, OKK, one of those drivers actually in the realistic bubble of making the chase. He comes into this -8, Yori's -7, SD -3, and of course Pete +3. That's not to say the rest of them, Ben Harrett, Mike, Corey, Jess, Connor and Risky, can't win it. But as I alluded to earlier, it's a long way back if you have a poor start in the chase, so you cannot afford a DNF. OKK remains very much in contention. 4 races to go, 80 points plus the playoff points available. What can he do with it, Owen?
Well, he's coming up towards the line now, the DRS on, and once again they'll just hug that inside line, hug up to the wall, and it should be third fastest, nearly a second off the pace, but a valid lap time nonetheless. And here is Ben Harrett, another driver who I think has a realistic shot. I know he's 19 points off at the minute, but we've seen so many times this season him showing those flashes of really good potential and pace. And I think he's unlucky to find himself this low down actually in the standings at this stage. Things haven't quite gone his way throughout, but today, let's say that'll change as he heads up the hill. I feel he was a bit too slow for that final braking zone there. He wasn't really using much of the track. Maybe not confident in getting towards that exit curve. Will that cost him time as he comes up to the line? He's got that 1:08 to beat, and he goes third fastest.
Yeah, final corner let him down there, didn't it? Ben Harrop, by the way, first of two Jokers we're seeing tonight. The other one is Christian Hotaro, who we'll see after Yori.
Oh, nice livery, Yori. I'm a fan of this.
Very reminiscent of what Michael O'Sullivan and Michael O'Kk run in the Kia series, isn't it?
Yeah. We like seeing this livery. Yeah. I actually like this livery template in general. I think Corey's using it as well, I want to say. And
he is, yeah.
Yeah, it's giving me Mercedes vibes, and it's good Mercedes vibes. I'm a fan of it. Big fan. As Yori goes third fastest. But yeah, I'm a fan of the livery. Now, where is SD Mats? There it is.
6 at the moment.
SD Mats, who I would say, 3 points off. I mean, if it wasn't for his accident on the last lap last week, he would be leading the chase. So I think he will still be feeling relatively confident about getting himself through to the Championship 5. But the problem is, his regular season fell apart in the last 2 or 3 races. He's got to make sure that doesn't happen this time, because he can't let this chance slide.
No, he can't. And you've got to think back to last season. Jordan almost won this race on his Joker. SD Mats arguably is as quick as, if not slightly quicker than Jordan, so it's not out of the question up to the line. It's only P5, but qualifying doesn't matter so much when you're on that Joker strategy. Owen, into the top 10 then, the playoff drivers. It's not Tez, it's Casper.
Yes, Casper.
Tez a late dropout, so Casper on pad.
And Casper, who wasn't actually going to race until very much at the last minute. He was letting Michel Goris take his spot, but now he is taking T's spot.
Yeah, Michel Goris we'll see later. I think Casper put up a lap on Twitter earlier showing that he is quite competent at this track now on pad. Had a bit of a moment in that final corner, but what can he do up to the line? It is going to affect his time. So we'll see what he can do in the race, but he needs the points because he is very much at threat. As what is he? Only 3 points to the good into the round of 6.
And here's a driver that I'm surprised has actually not just rage quit the league after what happened last week. I mean, when it comes to ways to fall out of the playoffs, the way Jamie had to fall out, ironically, it was to a first-time winner at Monza that he loses out at. It's just how these things work. Obviously, that's where he got his first win in the Cup Series. But yeah, in even less extraordinary circumstances, and somehow Gareth managed it. And it leaves him equal on points at the end of that race. But since he got the win in the playoffs, it got him straight through. So Jamie, yeah, second fastest. We know he has the pace, but sadly, there's no chance of a championship for him at the moment.
He's very much here for vibes, isn't he? But
yeah.
He'll be annoyed that his lap was so good. If you can match Corey's TT pace, then you're not in a bad place, are you?
Here comes
Next up is
Jake. Jake, who obviously is one of 3 drivers this season to have 2 victories. Casper and Jimmy Wright, the other 2. And yeah, 9 different winners in the first 12 races, by the way. Only Jordan, who we'll see later on, only Jordan is yet to win out of the 10 playoff drivers that we have this season. And as Jake heads through Sector 2, we know he's got more consistent pace. And I tell you what, this is a very quick lap so far.
Good there, didn't it? A very good lap so far.
This has potential to go straight to the top. He would love to make it 3 wins in this season so far, get himself well into the next round. As he comes up to the line, he does go fastest, beating Corey at last. Only took approximately, 12 drivers to finally get that lap time beaten, but it's happened. And let's see if the floodgates will open now for the rest of the drivers.
Yeah, moving to Leroy, who I think got pole on Tuesday night in the Kia Series around Monza, didn't he? You can correct me if I'm wrong there. But Leroy actually has 4 wins this season, 3 in Kia, 1 in Cup. The 1 in Cup getting him into the playoffs. It's a very good line. Will it be pole? I don't think he's going to quite make it, but it will be good enough for P5.
And here he is then, Jordan, the driver who, let's say, the only playoff driver not to win a race so far this season. He could do with one, although he is only 3 points off the cut line. It is entirely possible for him to get in without winning a race, but I do think at some point, if he wants to be in the Championship 5 again, it has to be potentially with a race victory. But we'll see how his night progresses. We'll first of all see the qualifying time. It looks decent so far, and it's P5, only 6 milliseconds off where you were looking at him, so
yeah,
we'll give you the benefit of the doubt on that one.
He was actually the same
analysis.
He was at the same split time as Pete going into the final corner, and that's why I said P4.
Now here is Kieran, and well, he's changed his colour scheme up once again. This guy can never get a good colour scheme, and it's basically Frenagame if he had pace. It's really we'll grow to like this one. No offence if you're watching, of course. He's an icon of the JACKOCAR League. It's fine. As Kieran heads up the hill, similarly paced to what we saw from a few others. You know, Leroy was right this pace. He's only about 2/10 off where Jake was, and it looked like a good corner exit. So maybe he'll be in P4 or he's 6. Exact same time as Jordan, actually.
Same time as Jordan. Wow.
Wow. That is that's impressive stuff.
That is a first, isn't it?
Well, I'm sure it's happened before. It has to have happened before, but maybe
I don't think it has. I really don't think it has.
That'll be one for the stat man, which is you to figure out. We'll get an answer next week, maybe.
Yeah. I'll just go back through the previous 95 races and work out every qualifying. You leave that with me.
Nice and easy. He would do that as well. As we watch Gareth then, the newest winner in the Cup Series, getting his redemption for Silverstone last week in Monza. And, well, he finds himself still actually bottom of the 8 playoff drivers are still in. That's just how clutch it was getting him in. He's 5 points though off the cut line, so very much in contention as he goes P8. Decent lap time, and only 3 more drivers to go. First of which is Michel Goris, who obviously isn't in the playoffs, so he's not in the Chaise race. He's here for vibes, and hopefully he doesn't do what he did last time out in the K Series and forget Turn 1 exists. Yeah, because I'm sure the drivers might be aware of what happened there. It wasn't his, well, it was a bit his fault, but he didn't mean to do it. But I think that's, he's got good pace when he's not crashing, but he's nearly sideways through the dive. That could have easily been a Grosjean accident.
Indeed, Michel actually in place of Casper, who was in place of Tez, so that's why he's out so late, stealing the playoff qualifying slots. But what can he do? Looking at a full-time seat again next season. P12 for Michel Goris, the Kia Series driver. So
we're going to get to see most of Iceman's lap then. The man who currently sits third in the standings, in the playoffs anyway. He's well clear though. He's 13 points up on where Jake is at the moment. So he should be relatively comfortable for now. But, well, look, you never know what can happen in the next few races. We expect him, though, to be comfortably into the Championship 5, of course, the 2-time regular season champion, back-to-back, in fact, in that respect, and this is the fastest lap we have seen so far. Mr. Pole Position, we know he can do it around here, and we'll see, as he comes to the line, it should be the first time in the 1-minute 7s, and if it is, it'll leave it all down to Jamie to try and steal his thunder as he crosses the line, Iceman, and it is the fastest time of qualifying so far. Jamie, what have you got?
Yeah, Ben's finally starting to pull his finger out now that the playoffs are here. Remember, his qualifying laps earlier in the season were not that good. He was like second, fourth, fifth for the first few races. But Jamie Wright, the only man who can stop him. Also, Jamie, I think he's had a couple of poles this season, has he not? Correct me if I'm wrong. 2 poles so far for Jamie. So he's another man who can put it where it needs to be. Won this race last season, won a championship here in season 2. Jamie Wright has very good history around this track. What can he do tonight then? Iceman, it's an average middle sector. He's probably looking at a P2 or P3. 107.8 to beat from last week's pole sitter. Will he be this week's pole sitter again, or will Jamie Wright knock him off the top? Owen Wyatt to the line.
Looks like it'll be close, but not close enough. So Iceman is on pole position here in Brazil. Beating out Jamie, Jake and Corey, who ended up 4th in the end. So while his lap didn't quite end up in the bin, I'm sure he'll still not be particularly happy with where he ended up, because he would have been expecting pole. But like I say, we're expecting weather in the race, and if it's anything like what we saw in Monza, then this race will be highly unpredictable. You just will not know how this thing's looking until the end. Qualifying ended up being nearly irrelevant last week. when it all got sorted out on the track in the race. So, the order: Iceman, Jamie, Jake, Corey, Jamie numbers, Pete, Jordan, Kieran, Leroy, Gareth, Yori, Ben, Estimat, Michelle, OKK, Connor, Casper, Jess, MK Bourne, and Risky. Only 2 drivers, MK Bourne and Risky, didn't get times on the board.
And cumulative gap between first and second this season now rises to 1.801. Iceman responsible for 6/10 of that.
Yeah, thanks for that. On Monza as well, of all tracks. You wouldn't think he'd have such a big gap there, but well, look, he has his ways, and like I say, Mr. Pole Position very much back on the form when it comes to, his one-shot qualities. And so, a dry start then. So does this mean we're going to go dry to wet, assuming that the rain everyone's talking about will show up? Because to tell you what, we love sessions like these. Now, is the formation lap still on, or have we turned it back up?
Yeah, formation lap remains on. Also, very quickly, that was Ben's 9th pole in his career, 3rd this season, and he now gains an extra point, and it is 21 points clear of the cut line to the round of 8. But yeah, formation lap on, dry start, you tell me, but we're expecting a little bit of weather to play a part in this.
Yes, and the reason I ask about the formation lap is because for some reason it's still not been turned back on for the Kia series. So I always try and make sure I'm not getting too confused. But this is good because it means we can look at everyone's tyres, and it is 16 of 20 drivers starting on the softs. The only ones on mediums: Leroy, Gareth, Ben, and Connor. ST Matt's interestingly on the Joker, still starting on softs. Obviously Ben on the mediums, that makes sense for him, but I'd be interested in seeing ST Matt's tactic there. Maybe the rain makes it irrelevant, I suppose, because you wouldn't. I'm going to just check that everyone did say rain, and I hope they aren't just lying.
And maybe ST Mats knows something we don't about a soft tyre, and when the rain comes down, maybe he can drag that tyre all the way to the end of this race. As you say, Owen, Ben Harrott and Christian Ataro, they are the Jokers. And of course the stage points for reference tonight, they are laps 9 and lap 18, so 1/4 and 1/2 of the way through the race is where we'll dish out some extra points. Most laps led, of course, available. Fastest lap, 2 points each for the 2nd and 3rd guys on the podium. And if we get a Joker win, there's 5 more playoff points to be dished out. Other than that, if you're still in contention in the playoffs, a win, and you're into the round of 6, regardless of your points difference. And then there's people like Jamie Wright and Iceman and Kieran, who are 29, 23, and 21 points to the good now. Jamie Wright's the only man who can advance on regular points, but Iceman and Kieran, should they get enough playoff points and a good top 3 finish, they will very much be seeing themselves looking at a trip to Canada and Texas in the round of 6. And Wyatt, it's almost time for those famous little words as the drivers come up to the grid. And we've got a spinner, it's Kieran.
Yes,
he's done a Max Verstappen.
Well, I'll tell you what, that'll definitely heat the tyres up a little bit more, and I'm sure you'll have an absolutely banging start as he now tries to beef with a few other drivers and everyone in the wall. It's OKK. Like I said, it's an interesting method, isn't it, for heating your tyres up? A few disqualifications happening. Now, the disqualifications, like I say, on the formation lap, they do put you further back in your grid slot. You'll see, if you look on the right-hand side, you'll see that Jamie's way off his grid slot. So you've got to be careful with those outlets. But here we go. We have got 5 red lights, I promise. I know you can't see them, but they will go out eventually. And boogity, 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 let's go racing in Sao Paulo. It looks like a decent start for Jamie. Will he be brave enough to go to the inside? He appears he will be, as Jamie Wright leads it. Jamie Griffiths fancies 2nd place. He is round the outside of Iceman, and he's all over the back of Jamie Wright, right round the outside of turn 3. What a start he's having. Will he be brave enough to go for it into turn 4? He's got nothing to lose, of course. He's out of both championships now. As he goes down the inside, he's going to take the lead of the race, Jacko. Brilliant stuff.
What a move from Jamie Griffiths. He had an electric start behind Jamie Wright there, next to Corey as well. But Jamie Wright comes right back through around the outside. Can he hold it here, Owen?
Wow, brilliant racing on lap 1. The 2 Jamies giving us incredible action, and they're still going for it. Jamie Wright, the championship leader, fighting away with Jamie Griffiths, who, like I say, has absolutely nothing to lose in this race. And he's going to switch back as Jamie Wright, but there's no way at the inside. That's Corey nearly into the back of Iceman as he fights with Jake. But what an electric first lap this has been. Jamie Griffiths still leading.
nothing to lose, and it absolutely shows. Maybe Jamie Wright should be a bit more considerate of his own playoff chances and just hold back. Clearly, Jamie Griffiths the faster driver at this current time, but will pit.
Wow,
early
look at
on
all
lap
these
one.
pitters. That is incredible stuff. I hope none of them are teammates, because if they are, they'll be in trouble, as we see. Pete then moving up into second place now, getting ahead of Jordan. Will he fancy leading the race, get a couple of player points to extend his gap at the top of the chase? Anyone having to stack? It's hard to really tell, isn't it, at this point? But all these guys are going onto the soft or the medium combine tyres, sorry, apart from Jamie Wright on softs and Yuri on hards. And it looks like, as they all come out, it is Jamie Wright into the lead of this thing now. Well, I say into the lead, the net lead. He's in 12th place on the track, but of course, they still have to wait one extra stop. The Joker drivers, obviously sitting up there. We've got Ben in 4th place, and SD Mats has already made his stop. And so I'd be amazed if he gets those tyres all the way to the end. If we see side by side, Gareth and OKK now for the middle sector. OKK, let's say 14th in the standings, very much looking to get himself higher up the grid tonight, but Gareth pulling away. Ben, let's say, is now also the highest driver on the medium combine tyres, and so he should lead the race for a while. And it's a spin. MK Bourne, does anyone collect him? Does he get beached? No, he does get away with it, I think, as we see Jake into the pits and Jordan into the pits, which lets Pete take the lead. Surely he'll start for a playoff point if he can.
Yeah, Pete obviously +3 leading the chase, but of course an extra playoff point here or there will not hurt him. He still has to make those 2 mandatory stops. But can he hold off? Oh, it's all seemed to have calmed down, Owen, for now. Maybe once these pit stops unravel themselves, we'll see a new true order. Ben Harrah is the man on the Joker who we should keep our attention on. SD Mats, however, he did pit lap 1. I don't know if you noticed that.
I did notice it, yeah. And yes. I've also noticed that Jamie, well, a few of them, well, it's actually only Jamie who has completed his full pit stop strategy. Let me just quickly check. Yeah, only Jamie Wright. So Jamie Wright is finished. He is happy enough with where he's at, and he will be going to the end of the race. And you will see that as they all came out of the pits, Jake now is the lead driver, who's had a down the dive as well. So that's perhaps overheating tyres, and that will surely be into the pit lane then, because there's no way he'll be able to get the grip back into them now. As we go nearly 3 wide up the hill, was there an illegal overtake for Gareth? Oh no! Oh. This could be really bad. 3 cars, 4 cars, all off the road, and a safety car has to come out for that one, surely. And indeed, it's only a VSC. Wow, that surprises me a lot. And it's been upgraded now. Gareth, who was involved in that accident, was committed to the pit lane, so he will actually end up gaining at this. And in fairness, it wasn't really his fault, the accident anyway, so I suppose it's a bit of a blessing in disguise there. Of course, drivers will still overtake him, but that will seriously hurt, actually, Ben Spurs the most, because he has a big 15-second lead over the rest of the one-stoppers, who it's all been wiped out. And Jamie Wright, as he gets through the chaos, the only driver who finished his full strategy, he'll be happy enough with this, because he obviously can now start taking more stops onto safety cars, get onto quicker tyres, he won't lose as much. And yeah, this does help him out. He will have a very good opportunity to win this race today, as it stands.
So, Owen, to give people who are watching an idea of how crazy...
Puncture for Jordan. Oh, he's going to fall right to the back with this, you know. And let's say, with where he is in the championship, sitting currently 7th, he's in the drop zone for next week if he can't get good points today. And, well, this puncture is going to have him so far behind the pack. It's a rare puncture as well, so you have to go super slow, or else you will find yourself hitting the wall.
Yeah, oh, and I was just saying before, that puncture, which is obviously a shame for Jordan, but to describe how crazy JACKOCAR is, J-Luke at the time, who was P18, even though he's last on track, is actually net race leader. For those of you that don't understand the league, that is how it works. 2 mandatory stops completed. Everybody else, apart from Ben and Esty. Actually, no, I do apologise. Esty would be net race leader, wouldn't he?
He would be, yes.
So yeah, J-Luke on for P2. Jordan should just about manage to make a pit stop, although he is struggling. Not doing as good a job as Corey in Japan a couple of weeks ago. They're looking after that rear tyre.
I do wonder if Esty... and just... sorry, I'll let you finish your point first.
Yeah, I was just saying that the worst thing for Jordan now would be to go a lap down, because don't forget he is he's already -3 to Casper. Casper even though he's on pad, sits P10. That's 7 points. So Jordan would be 10 points away should it finish like that.
I think he will get lapped. I think he will get lapped.
I think you're right here.
We'll see. Of course, they are under safety car speed, so perhaps he'll make it. And of course, there's a potential for some fair play from the guys at the front. They do sometimes let lapped cars just go. They'll go onto the grass and let them overtake, but I think there'll be a lot of cars having to do that. We'll see, though. It'll be tight. All I was going to say on SD Max is that I could see him throwing away the Joker in terms of he'll pit 3 or 4 times, but all under safety cars, because he is in a good position right now, and these medians, they might struggle to get to the end, and so, yeah, he is actually in a good spot. You know, you'll throw away some advantage of not being able to win it on a pure Joker, but the fact that you only need to make one mandatory on track still puts him in such a good position, assuming we get more chaos. And if there's anything like those first 3 laps, the rest of the race, there will be more safety cars. I can't remember a first 3 laps as dramatic as that for a long time. That was non-stop. And look at that, Jordan just about gets out onto the track. That is good news. I mean, another 2 or 3 seconds in the box, he would have been in a bit of trouble. But he's now going to have he'll actually take a couple of laps to catch up here. Hopefully the safety car will actually last long enough for him to catch up. But he's on the lead lap, and that's what matters.
He's going to have to fly, isn't he? But maybe that's an absolute blessing in disguise for him. As I said, -3 for Jordan, but remains on the lead lap with 1 mandatory stop to go. So it is not over. These playoffs, Owen, every week they unfold little by little. The story continues, and Jordan's story is not yet over for this season.
Indeed. And so the question is then, will the safety car elect to come in at the end of this lap? It came out at the end of lap 3, didn't it? And so we're already on to the end of lap 6. Would the safety car really go out for 4 laps just to wait for 1 more driver? We have seen it just not wait for them before. So I'll be interested to see if those lights go off. If they do, they may well end up going off quite late. But Ben will be ready for a restart anyway. The restart zone is the line at the start of the pit lane entry. You'll see what I mean. We'll ride on board with Ben as we head up the hill to see it. It's a pretty simple safety car line to see this week. If anyone manages to miss it, I'll be quite surprised. The only thing they might get confused by is that they may think that the DRS line is a restart.
Yeah.
But it's actually that line there that Ben's going to cross now. You can tell which one it is because it's where the pit lane starts from. And we will wait for Jordan. So he's got 50 seconds to catch up. 50 seconds to catch up. Plenty of time to heat up those hard compound tyres, and they definitely would need it. So that is actually another blessing perhaps in disguise. He'll be on nice toasty hard compound tyres.
Yep, and if he times it just right, he should be able to fly and catch up to the back of the pack, going a lot faster than everyone else. Bit Kyle Busch style. He did that a few years ago in, I think it was Charlotte Motor Speedway. Nobody will know what I'm talking about other than the people who have good taste.
Well,
but, let's see if Jordan can make good of this bit of luck, this stroke of luck that he's having.
I mean, we call it a stroke of luck. He was running near the sharp end before this happened, but still. Have we got word on the mandaries, by the way? Because I do hope that I know you'll be keeping an eye on them, because in the KS Series race, me and Gav just ended up just giving up and just hoping the drivers all were following the rules properly.
Yeah,
Obviously, we know the front guys have to pit, the top 2 of Risky and Ben, but the rest of them, oh, good luck.
The rest of them, as far as I'm aware, every stop you see is mandatory other than one of Jordan's.
Kieran pitted as well, didn't he?
Did he?
I believe
Yes,
Kieran did.
So yeah,
pit.
you are correct. It is Kieran and Jordan have done one non-mandatory. Every other stop is legal.
Happy days. Right then, so safety car's in. And Jordan is flying up to the back of the pack. There it is. There he is. So he will be there for the restart. So well done, the safety car. You've let the whole field arrive. Hopefully, the restart goes quite well. Traditionally, restarts here in real F1 have been quite chaotic. And as Ben gets to the restart zone, well, it's all up to him now. And Risky is very much pushing. He's on those soft combo tires, remember, but look, he's away is Ben. Really good restart. And Jake will be moving up into second place. Risky in the end. Wasn't ready. There's a yellow flag behind. I'm wondering if something's happened on the run towards turn 1, but they all look to be okay at the moment. Risky was way wide off the road, and he's going to fall down to 7th, possibly even 8th place. So a really poor restart for him. OKK's ignored a yellow flag, so whatever was going on that main straight, he's made an overtake during it and gets himself a penalty. Will he maybe just try and dispute that later on with the stewards? And he spins off Leroy. Well, I say Leroy more hit him actually. It's a racing incident regardless, but he's at the back of the field as we see right on the outside for the lead, just like we saw in that one. Jake on Ben. Brilliant stuff. They are really giving it some. And here comes Jamie Numbers now, trying to have a little look as well. He's got a decent gap, of course, on the likes of Jamie Wright, whose main foot was where will he be on as he goes up the
Jamie,
inside.
that's late.
Nearly wheel binding, and we know he's had a lot of underthrow downs the last couple of weeks. He knows how risky moves like this are as he tries to find a gap on the inside of the last braking zone, but there's no way through. The reason he's so desperate is because Corey's all over the back of him as well, and they're both going to be all over Jamie. All over Ben as they head towards turn 1, unless we see any pit stops from him, but he's on a joker. He's going to stay for a while. He's fighting for genuine position with these guys as they all head down towards turn 1, and we see side by side Corey up the inside. Will he get this one right? We see so many times it go wrong, but it's actually Jamie sliding through the corner, and he has to concede as a result of it. So it's Corey now who'll be on the charge.
Great move from Corey up the inside of turn 1. Fantastic stuff. I'd just like to alert your attention to Jake, who won the opening round of the round of 10 and leads the opening round of the round of 8. Is it?
Here comes Corey, right on the outside. Is he going to do the same thing? Ejected on the last lap, all over the grass on the way in. Will he have the grip on the exit? This is terrific stuff here as he goes right round the outside. Beautiful move. He's up to second place, is Corey. And yellow flags behind, trying to work out what that's for. Everyone appears to be moving in the right direction, so we'll assume it's all okay. As down the inside for the second lap in a row goes Jamie, and this time he leaves Ben with no option but to concede as Corey goes off. He's going to be right in the middle of the track. That surely is another safety car, as we see 2 cars with severe damage in the middle of the track. I don't think they'll be given one though. I'm surprised about that, with OKK in the wall and Corey in the wall. Now, who got penalties? Because I saw that definitely... they both get penalties. Corey a drive-through. OKK now has 15 seconds of penalties. And a puncture for Casper. Who had a puncture? Someone had a puncture. OKK just.
Front left on, yeah.
Yeah, and now we're seeing Leroy trying to get through on Ben Spurs. So he obviously has lost a lot in this as well. I still can't believe there's no safety car. Jamie Wright got through all this, by the way. He's up into 9th place. Obviously, he has finished his pit stop strategy and is looking pretty good. Although, of course, so is SD Mats. He is very much in the thick of this. In P5 at the moment, on the back of Gareth, as rounding outside again, we see another move at turn 6. This is becoming the favourite place for overtaking on this track. You would never have expected it, but they're all making it stick. Kieran up into P5. Really good stuff once again.
Is that not the corner where Jenson Button went around the outside of Nakajima in 2009 on his way to winning that title that year ahead of Sebastian Vettel at turn 6? Very brave move that was.
I'll take your word for it. I know we made a lot of brave moves that day. I always remember his fight with Kobayashi that day, but
it might be Kobayashi I'm thinking of actually, but yeah, you weren't alive anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I'm not that young, lad.
Jake, by the way, led the end of stage 1, so that's a playoff point for him. It puts him now only 6 points behind Leroy in the playoffs.
And Kieran up into the podium positions now as he headed through on Gareth in turn 1. Gareth, of course, who got quite lucky with the timing of his pit stop. He sits in genuine 4th place right now. And he's on the hard compound tyres. He'd be wanting to get rid of those at some point soon, but he has the longevity to maybe put sauce on towards the end. So he may well be a factor later on. Jamie Wright up into P7 now, as we see Ben and Leroy fighting away still. Leroy with next to no ERS left, so I don't think he'll be able to go for that move right outside of turn 6. You could see he was thinking about it, but there was no way of making that one stick. And Corey, well, I hate to say I'm not surprised, but he's going to lose a lap at this rate. Will he lose a lap on this lap actually, or is he just taking his drive-through? Hopefully it's just his drive-through, because he might get away with it if it's his drive-through, although it'll still be close as Jake heads through towards turn 1. I think he'll get away with it though, but if he makes one more mistake, Corey, then his day is well and truly done.
Jake is absolutely flying, by the way. 4.5 seconds clear of Jamie Griffiths. It's looking good for him. Still a stop to go, don't forget.
Wow. SD Matt's going to the end of the race, potentially. He needed quite a lot of tyre preservation, but he's up in 4th place now, and having a very good run of it.
You dare say SD is going to throw the Joker if he sees himself in contention for a race win?
I would have thought so, yeah. I'm thinking under a safety car, just take a free pit stop under the safety car, perhaps.
Yeah. It's I think that the tyre, they're not going to go to the end, so the Joker is done at this point. He won't win the race on this strategy. As Jake, by the way, since I last spoke about him, half a second he's gained on Jamie Griffiths. What a drive he's having. Winner in Saudi Arabia, winner in Japan, maybe winner in Brazil. 1/3 of the race distance gone.
And I tell you what, if we get, any more troubles, I'm just seeing that Jordan's falling down the order. It's him and Leroy are the ones who are having a really tough time of it today. Obviously, Leroy, he sits 4th, doesn't he, in the standings? So it's not as bad for him. He sits 7th. What am I on about? He sits 7th. He's actually in trouble right now.
No.
Or no, I'm looking at the wrong standings.
You're looking at the wrong standings. So Leroy is P4.
Yes, he is 4th. Good. Right.
Because of Jake's stage point, he's only 6 points clear of Jake now, is Leroy. And that is the worst place you can be, is 4th.
But let's say he's 13 points in the clear anyway when it comes to being in trouble. But if he finishes 15th tonight, the only good news for him is that Jordan, at the very least, is only 1 car in front of him, but Gareth is up there in the top 5. And so it could be, a slightly nervy situation next week if he ends up finishing today's race down there. Because Jake winning the race obviously put him straight up. And Casper, well, he's 13th, but he may close the gap a little bit. So, yeah, interesting day in terms of everyone's playoff spots. And obviously with Pete having the accident and all earlier, sits 12th at the moment. Christian Notaro, 4th place, technically the net race leader. Could imagine seeing him up at the top later on. I think Risky has gone off the road, hasn't he? Risky, who is bottom of the championship, in fact. We've seen that go well for him before, though, in the past, but not today, based on where he is at the moment on the track. I think maybe Jordan had to let him back through there.
Yeah, minus 26 is Risky. 501 points for him.
Off goes Pete.
Unfortunately.
Pete. The same place as he went earlier on, isn't it? Down the hill. Really struggling down there.
On the outside this time, so he doesn't matter where he goes, he just doesn't like that bit of corner, that bit of track. 6 seconds, the gap up front for Jake.
It's pretty comfortable for him, isn't it? I can't really see him losing it from there because he's got very much the pace as well to be able to catch and pass SD Matt if SD tries to go to the end, which I'm sure he won't. Yellow flag.
Corey.
No, that is Corey getting lapped now. That's his race over, essentially, isn't it? And I tell you what, if he spends too long in the long grass, he'll pick up even more penalties, perhaps get a black flag. So he's got to get himself back onto the track without causing any issues and without getting himself beached, which he's managed to do, but he's been lapped all the way down to 6th place, now 7th. I'd say that's potentially the last straw. I just do not see this being a Challenger 5 driver at the rate we're going at the moment.
So he was very fast in TT, dry and wet. But as we said, JACKOCAR rules, it is not as simple as just being outright fast.
No, look at Gareth, by the way. He's got Jamie right on the back of him, and they're both on the back of ST Max. Now, Jamie, of course, has the potential to go right to the end of this race on those hard compound tyres. It's a much easier prospect for him. They're fresher tyres than ST Max's mediums, so they certainly have a very realistic shot of getting to the end. And if he can get himself past ST Max, that would make him the net race leader. Of course, though, they are already nearly 14 seconds behind Jake, so I would still say Jake is the best bet to win the race, unless we get a safety car later on, which we might well do, in fairness. It wouldn't be completely out of the question. But yeah, Jamie can see ST Max, and that is really the main guy he's fighting at the moment.
And dare I say, what about rain, Owen? Because the clouds are starting to ever so slightly change.
They are, aren't they? Like I say, it was hard to tell based on the Twitter chat if the rain was actually coming. They seemed almost as confused as I was about it, and they're the ones who had the weather in front of them. But yes, the dark clouds are certainly coming out into play. That would explain the lack of general pit stops that we're seeing at the minute, I mean, we've barely seen any since safety car went in, are they all waiting to stick the intermediate tyres on for their second mandatory stops? It would obviously beg the question, why did Jamie pit again? But it would also explain why Ben is still out there, because he'd be waiting for the rain to make his first stop, and that would work out quite nicely for him.
He's not doing half bad either, is he? Still in 7th on those original mediums, which I imagine he'll be starting to lose a little bit of grip. They won't be absolutely dead just yet. Who's he got in front of him? That's Corey, who's going to go for another half a spin.
Ugh.
And he'll be getting the blue flags now. There they are, in fact, at the side of the track. Of course, in JACKOCAR, you don't have to obey blue flags, but you do run ignoring them at your own risk. Yeah,
you'll get the penalty for that before long. And I tell you what, Ben might be getting a bit impatient because he has Ben on the back of him, as we see Jamie up the inside of Gareth into turn 1, and so he can see his main rival now directly in front of him. But look at Gareth coming back at him, really nicely done, and back up into 4th place. He will also get the DRS, I believe, and so this wheel-to-wheel fight, this will drag race down towards turn 4, I believe it will be won by Gareth. But can Jamie get himself down the inside? He'll certainly give it a go, but Gareth is keeping his nose in there on the outside of 4 and in towards 5 and 6. He's got more ERS. Can he throw it around the outside? No, he can't. Jamie up into 4th position, but good fighting once again.
Yeah, good racing from those two, really respectful actually. Big fan of that.
But yes, like I was
saying,
did a
better job than Max and Lewis last year, didn't
yeah, they did a bit, didn't they? As we see, let's say, I was saying Ben on the back of Ben, as he actually done his second stop. Yeah, quite a few of them actually have done their second stops in fairness, so maybe I've just not been paying attention to the pit stops. But
there's the penalty we were on about for Corey.
Yeah, that's the second one he's got in this lap, I believe. Is risky off the road. I really hope he doesn't beat the car, but I have a feeling he's just letting people come back on, so I was worried it would be beats for a second.
And here goes Iceman then.
Yeah.
On the back of his namesake. To the left. Risky spin again. And he'll get it done before the line.
I'm looking for Jamie Griffiths here as well, because if Iceman is good to the end, he'll be looking to try and get past him soon enough, and what a late lunge that is! And he hits him twice through turn 1. And he'll get him on the exit, will he? And I tell you what, he's properly struggling for pace now, is Ben. He'll be looking for that pit stop soon enough. And that will tell you how tricky ST Mats will find us later on, because the difference between even just a couple laps on the tyres is just massive in terms of the grip.
Oh, Ben Harris
and
for a
off
spin.
again. So you can see how much he's struggling here, and points, crucial points, are slipping away as ST Mats keeps his Joker much more sort of healthy situation. Only one driver from the chase gets through into the Championship 5, so all these mistakes are so very crucial, because it really is do or die in these sorts of situations, and you can so easily be left hung out to dry.
And it's Ben, of course, minus 18. He needs a good result. We even said at the start when we were talking about Corey how, you know, 2 races in, 20 points back, it's unlikely, it's not impossible, but the history shows it does not favour drivers greater than 10 points behind. And Ben Harrett with his Joker, a very brave Joker to do in the playoffs, trying to use it to his advantage, but it's just not working out. He needs the rain, but he's going to pit anyway as Corey retires in the pit lane, so there'll be no safety car.
Yeah, not a surprise to see him DNFing, unfortunately. Maybe next week, you never know, but it does feel like it's essentially going to be over now, really, for him this season. Really fell apart from before the playoffs even began, really, when he just couldn't get a car to the checkered flag for so very long. And certainly not in any good points positions. He didn't even score any points for the first sort of, 8 or 9 races, as here comes Jordan, trying to go round the outside of Casper, who must be properly struggling now on these soft compound tyres, 9 laps old. And Jordan, is he going to do the famous round outside of turn 6 manoeuvre? He may well give it a go, but there's no way through for now. As I'm seeing that Jamie, Yuri's into the wall. That could put a safety car out, and I believe it has. Yes, it has. So full safety car then. And that is going to wipe out Jake's lead, and that's the risk of staying out. But is he waiting for rain? That's the question. We've got to ask the question, because when you have a 12-second lead like that, why not pit? Because you're now having your whole lead wiped out.
It's only a VSC, Owen. It's only a VSC.
Oh, is it only a VSC? That's, okay. Yeah. Oh, it's raining anyway now, so that explains the waiting.
In the pit lane.
Gareth's
Two
in the
lucky pit
pit
stops for
lane.
Gareth, but he's gone for mediums.
He's gone for medium compound tyres. Well, like I say, the game was giving us mixed opinions on the weather, and well, it's raining now. That's for absolute sure. But yeah, so only 2 drivers in the pits. I'm amazed that wasn't a full safety car. I was sure it was, but of course the game doesn't actually tell us. We just sort of have to assume and look for a board that tells us different. But as Gareth comes back out...
By the way, Jake O'Sullivan led stage 2. DRS
green.
enabled.
Green again.
So that would say dry tyres, wouldn't it?
Well, it would say we're certainly on a restart at the very least, but it will take a while for it to come too wet. So if you want to make your last ditch moves for position before the DRS does go...
I think Jess slowed down on the straight and Jake went to the right to avoid her. He almost hit the back of her as the rain comes down a little bit more. Jake, by the way.
Oh, Jamie Griffiths all over the curb, loses it while trying to overtake MK Bourne. Is the track already becoming treacherous out there? Is Jamie right on the inside of SD Mats? That's for genuine position. Those two, well, I suppose are all needing to pit one more time with the rain, and SD Mats then falls off the podium positions.
For now, at least. But yeah, Jake, by the way, only 5 points behind Leroy in the playoffs, and Leroy...
Oh no, Casper spinning all the way up the hill. He's in the middle of the track now. Oh, and Leroy's so close to collecting him. This is such a tricky position to find yourself in. Oh, Pete! So close to wiping both of them out. It would have been a second accident up there today. But luckily, Casper gets himself back onto the racetrack. This is properly difficult conditions.
Turning into a classic, I think you meant to say. Yellow flags again. Who's that for?
Can't see any of them, but I believe, hopefully, we're all okay. DRS is still enabled, but I think SD Mats is just about to fall outside it. In fact, he has. And so Jamie has to slide up the hill, but it's not going to affect him too much. He should be able to now get clear and chase after Kieran in second place. And it's just about trying to find the closest fights on the track now, really. No one is on the intermediate yet. You can see what everyone's tyres are at the moment. But, yeah, so let's try and find someone to watch then. Because I tell you what, the likes of Yuri on a fresh set of the softs in these sort of conditions, he should be absolutely flying. I might be able to make a little bit of grind up out there. But it's just so difficult to see what's going on. Because the rain is just too light for anyone to think about pitting yet. And so if you're on old mediums, will you be starting to feel a bit nervous at this point?
It's a shame we can't cut to Jake and ask him, isn't it?
I know.
11-second lead.
We can certainly take some knowledge, though, from the fact that Ben on 19-lap old tyres was all over the road, wasn't he? And obviously you got like the ST on 20, Jake on 19, Pete in the wall, and that is surely...
That is a full safety car.
Yes.
Jake will not make the pits.
No one will make the pit apart from Casper, but he's pitted anyway. Well, yeah, maybe so he's taking the pain because he knows he'll be pitting onto... Well, what's he going to pit onto, though? Risky's the only driver out there on intermediates at the moment. Casper's put new mediums on, but what on earth is Jake going to put on? He's gone for intermediates, Jacko. And I tell you what, Kieran's doing it as well, and SD Mats is doing it as well. SD Mats, the first driver in here who has finished his pit stop strategy. This is a free pit stop, and he's going to hope that the rain is heavy enough when the safety car comes in, because if it is, he will be the race leader. Without any doubt in my mind, he'll be race leader. So, he's not even going to lose a position. He ends up still coming... Well, he loses to Iceman, sorry, but he comes out in P5. He was able to afford to take that risk because he had finished his strategy, but Kieran hasn't, and Jake hasn't, and NK Bourne hasn't, I don't think. Jamie Griffiths has, I believe, but Jamie's off. Jamie Wright has gone off the road under safety car, I believe. Now, is it tactical? I wouldn't think so. Not at this stage, but he's fallen down to third place, and Jake on intermediates now leads the pack.
So I'm just keeping up with my non-mandatory zone and entertain everyone for the minute.
Yeah, it's hard to keep a track of really what's going on here. Obviously, you can see the tyres on the screen at the moment, but we've got quite the mix. We've got 4 different compound of tyre out there at the moment. No one seems to really know what the right tyre is, and if you're riding on board with anyone who's still on the dry compound tyres, you can see why they haven't switched, because it doesn't look that bad. If you're on board with an intermediate runner, it does. The track still looks dry on board Jake's car. Of course, 2 or 3 laps time when this thing comes in, he's in the pits again, Jacko. He's in the pits again, is Jake. And Jamie, who had finished his pistol strategy, is taking a stop as well. So Iceman now into the lead of the race. And SD Max, like I say, with his pistol strategy complete, hoping the rain gets that a little bit heavier. Jake onto new softs. And Jamie onto new mediums. We really do find ourselves in a situation where the drivers do not know what the best option is. Does Jake just fancy breaking away 5-10 seconds a lap for 3 or 4 laps, pit for intermediates and come back out ahead? Is that a sustainable strategy? Because people will be having accidents out on the track. That's the problem. There could well be another safety car before you have a chance to make a strategy like this work. As Risky's off the road, obviously a lapped car, he's in the middle of the top 3, he's in the middle of 3rd and 4th at the moment. But I mean, the problem is Iceman's on the worst tyres out there and he's the race leader, so he's the one who'll surely be the most sort of nervous about what's going to happen on the restart. The problem is we're still a couple of laps away from that, because only half of the field are on the back of the safety car at the moment. This is an absolutely impossible situation for these guys. Genuinely, what on earth do you even do? We're only 2/3 of the way through the race. There's still a lot that is going to happen. Intermediates will get to the end of the race from here absolutely fine. It's just whether they'll be grippy enough on the restart.
Well, whether it's the right tyre. It's a huge crossover, isn't it?
I mean, we saw last week the opposite, wet to Inter. The Inters took forever, didn't they, to get into the window. They were almost still not in the window 10 laps after the first drivers were putting them on. And we'll face that same thing here this week. So this really is so difficult to predict.
Yeah, and what a shame for Risky, by the way. Miracle call.
Jamie's
right tyres, right time.
Jamie Griffiths also wants off the intermediates.
But he's a lap down. Yep, Jamie Griffiths.
Off intermediates, sure, that's what this is going to be. So we only actually have, that'll leave only, what, 4 of the main runners out there on intermediate. Only 4 of them.
Jess now pits.
Jess into the pits, so she fancies, perhaps, that'll be for intermediates, surely. Maybe new mediums or softs. It's intermediates for Jess, so that'll be us back up to 5. I'm not really cutting Risky on this because he's a lap down, unless they let him through, which they could do. So Casper's in. They won't, but Casper's in as well, so that should be us up to 6. So with every lap, more and more drivers are thinking about it, but the same amount are getting rid, and you can see the track's looking a bit more saturated now. Obviously, you don't anymore have the telltale sign of DRS disabled because we're under safety car. So this is one of those rare situations where genuinely you're not... Oh! Off the road goes the race leader under safety car! Well, if that doesn't tell you what the conditions are, I don't know what does. But the problem is, they don't have that telltale sign. Well, I say they don't have the telltale sign. Cars on dry tyres spinning off under safety car, you'd think it's a pretty good telltale sign. But half the grid are sticking with them. So... This is play it by ear mode at this point. And the safety car's coming in this lap. I thought we'd have one more lap in it. So Kieran now has to decide what he wants to do on this restart. The rain is still just spitting at the moment, Jacko. This is dramatic stuff.
I don't entirely know what's going on, but Kieran, he's only done 1 mandatory stop, so he's not going to the end. SD Mats is your race leader. Iceman P2, but he opted to give that up by spinning off. And Gareth very comfortable in P4, but possibly on the wrong tyre, question mark?
Oh, what did he do here? So, Kieran's at the restart line. The rain is just spitting. Iceman is taking a non-mandatory pit stop. And as they head to the start-finish line, SD Mats is practically alongside Kieran. Will anyone take the jump? They're waiting as long as possible, and Kieran is away. But look at it. It's nearly 4 wide in the midfield. There's a few drivers who are making way loads of spots up. This is incredible stuff. Into turn 1. Surely there'll be contact. And there is, between quite a lot of them. But they're all just about making it stick. Jake is the highest runner on the soft compound tyres. Will he be able to chase down these guys on the intermediates? Because look at this behind. The intershod runners mixing with the dries. They're all over the road, Jacko. They really just don't... There's no way of telling what the quicker tyre is here.
I'm still working out my non-mandatory stops though, and I'll leave it to you.
Oh, off the road goes Jamie Griffiths, just trying to survive as Leroy right round the outside of turn 6. That move doesn't work anymore, as he's nearly off the road. There's a car of Yuri spinning into the pack. Ben Spurs off the road as well, and in all this, Jake is losing time. So I would say that this is now Inter's time, because we see Casper on the pad with all of his recent struggles. He runs a net 4th place now. Huge day for him. Jordan, net 5th, but Jake, that's Casper off the road. Casper's way off the road. Will he collect anyone when he comes back on? This is turning into an incredible day if you're Jordan, because remember that puncture earlier on. You said Jacko could be blessed in disguise.
There's a crash at the final corner.
There is a crash at the final corner. Jess Risky and Ben as well. All 3 of them, all off the road. And penalties being dished out there. But like I say, Jordan with that puncture early on was right at the back. He now finds himself looking at a net 4th place. As into the wall goes Jake. Jake is reversing into the pack. Could so easily have picked a few cars off, and he may well still do so. That's an unsafe rejoin, surely, as Casper, all Inter's making those mistakes, by the way, just can't get that car put in a straight line. We're now down to just 4 drivers on the dry compounds of tyres, one of which has a damaged front wing. This just... And Kieran has to pit again. NK Bourne, is he good? Because he's chasing down ST Mats. This could be a first win for 5 seasons for MK Bourne, if he's good.
No, he's only done 1 mandatory.
Jordan, is he good? Because it could be second place.
Jordan is good.
So, he's got 6.5 seconds though to catch up to the nearest car. He could maybe do another safety car to have a chance of winning the race, but I mean, even then though, in that second place, he'll certainly be taking that at the end of today's race, as Jamie Griffiths fights away with Casper. The field properly spread out now thanks to all these incidents, as Leroy loses out and NK Bourne into the pits. Then he goes. Do you know what? He's only going to lose a handful of positions because of the field spread, so it's not actually all that bad for him. And
MK Bourne as well, he needs the points. He's minus 21 to Pete in the chase. And Pete, by the way, where's he? He's out of the race.
He's out of the race, yeah. He brought out that last safety car, didn't he? So Jamie Wright is sticking with this, as well as Leroy. The only 2 still out there, because I'm sure Ben will also pit.
Leroy almost loses it in turn 3.
Yeah, so Ben also... Ben will stay out, so 3 of them then will still commit to dry tyres. Are they waiting for a safety car just to get a cheap pit stop? Because they're losing too much time though to sort of get away with that, I think. But listen, we'll see. If we get another safety car, expect it to be from one of those 3, I would have thought.
I'm not going to say anything. But MK Bourne gets past Leroy. Bear in mind, he pitted this lap. So clearly the Inters now 100% are the right tyre. Leroy, look how much he's struggling in turn 7 there. He's got to get off that tyre. J-Luke doing a slightly better job, but it's falling away from him. And Mike goes around the outside. Yeah, it's intermediate time, Owen.
Oh, Ben off the road.
Ben off.
I said about those safety cars. Hopefully he doesn't get it beached. And he will get himself back onto the road. Jake down in 14th place now. How today has turned for him. And he'll make a position up on Ben, but it's not really much consolation. He was leading the race comfortably before the last safety car came out. Leroy is going to stay out. Jamie is going to stay out another lap. 14 seconds a lap these 2 are losing. Well, actually, it's nearly 17 for Leroy, so Jamie's doing a much better job in that respect. But they're still so far off the road, or off the pace. And like I say, 2 laps of that, you lose a whole pit stop. They've been out there for way more than that.
And Kieran, by the way, they'll be gutted, because he's extending his lead over Esti. But when you've got an extra pit stop still to go, you can ignore Kieran. Esti P2, Jordan looking like a P2 2 seasons in a row.
Oh, off the road goes NK Bourne. Oh no, and just tell you what, he's cutting back onto the road. Will he get a penalty for that? No, he does get away with it. The thing is, actually, for Kieran, it doesn't look great, but he'll still only come out in 4th place, I would have thought, which isn't all that bad, to be fair, when he makes his pit stop. Assuming that he actually does have to make it, but I'll take what you're saying for. I'm sure he'll know he has to pit. But yeah, it's actually, because of the field spread, not that bad for Kieran, although of course he would dearly love the race win. But I'm sure if he gets told it's a chase driver who gets to inherit the win off him, I don't think he'll mind it that much.
No, not at all. It's not his fight, is it?
Nah.
And of course, Jordan behind, he's far enough behind where Esty could have a couple of small mistakes and get away with it. Should it fall into his hands. But yeah, Kieran, what is he? He's 23 points above the cut line.
Do you know, Jacko, I'm starting to wonder if the reason that we're seeing Jamie and Leroy start is because the rain is maybe set to stop. I mean, it's so light. I mean, I could see it stopping at any moment, but there's still 7 laps to go in a race. They could have pitted by now. Ben as well. They're all 3 of them are still ploughing on with this, so they must have a reason for it. Surely, because they're all sticking with it. Will this rain stop, and will we see another round of pit stops? I think even at this rate, we saw this at Portugal last season, because I know I was in this position. It's the only race I've ever raced in this league, and the rain stopped towards the end, but the dry tyres weren't actually good until the final lap, and so we've seen this sort of strategy not work before.
The only thing is, the top 4 are all in a position where they got a free pit stop over everybody else anyway. MK Bourne would lose out. Jamie, yeah, so the top 4 are fine in my eyes.
Yeah, this is it. It's just not a viable strategy.
Not anymore. It's too late. The only thing not viable now is a safety car for the front runners.
Well, this is a safety car. Oh, it's just into the wall. That could have been the safety car. I think she's actually got away with no damage, believe it or not. I think that was her trying to overtake Jamie. Maybe I just didn't quite get a plan for her. Maybe she got spooked. But I mean, if they're going to go with a strategy, they need the rain to stop essentially now. And like I say, it does look like it's going to stop imminently. To be fair, it still hasn't really got started, has it? It's been spitting, and that's it. Quite how it's managed to do so much to the track is beyond me. But yeah, it's a tense situation we find ourselves in here, because of course we're still waiting for the pit stop of Kieran. And I tell you what, Iceman, 2 seconds behind Jordan. Does he fancy nicking the second place off him in the closing stages? I'll tell you, he's certainly pushing for it. So keep your eyes on that in the closing stages. Jamie as well on the back of MK Bourne, and Gareth all over Casper, has been for a while. As we now have, well, the 3 medium runners are all running in a row now. Of course, Ben a long way off the back of Leroy, but 12th and 13th for Jamie and Leroy. That is a strategy I'm going to be very interested to hear the explanation of, because that simply isn't working now. And Iceman has pulled a whole second in since I mentioned his gap. Could he get by even on this lap, Iceman? He is absolutely on it. And they're both catching the back of Ben. This is a very tricky position to be in. As a car off the road is a risky racer. Oh, Jordan throws his car up the inside of Ben Spurs. This is so risky. You have no idea when you're in a position like he is. A podium today could put him straight through to the next round of the playoffs, because of where Leroy is and because of where we're seeing other drivers making mistakes. He's well ahead of Casper. And, you know, you've got to think about, is it worth losing that one position? With Jake obviously down there as well. You know, this is a massive day for Jordan. This is a high pressure situation.
The only good thing for Jake is he's led both stages and also cannot be challenged for most laps led in this race. So he'll pick up 3 playoff points, and P10 would get him 7. That'd be
I think the rain's about to stop.
Points. The rain looks like it is stopping. But is it too late, Owen? The gaps are too big for anybody to.
It's too late, but
make anything.
If it stops now, will the track dry quick enough? Because we'll see Kieran surely make the move and pit. A yellow flag. Here comes Ben. Oh, was he through in time? Was he through? I don't think he was.
Is that a VSC?
I'm trying to see. I think Ben. I can't tell what it is, unfortunately, because it's hard to see. There's no signs anywhere that I can look at. VSC.
Yeah,
it's VSC.
That is a VSC.
Right, yeah. Kieran, if I'm you, and if you're able to get to the pits, you've got to make your stop now. Jamie Griffiths has gone back onto the dries, as has Gareth, as has Risky. The rain will stop. The rain has stopped. The rain has stopped. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness me.
Does this throw this back into the hands?
Oh no! But
of Kieran.
It does, but he's just fine. This the VSC ending, so he's not even pitted. So I hope you're right about his stops. I definitely did see him take a non-mandatory, but he has got 3 stops on the boards, Jacko.
And I have 2 non-mandatories listed, so he's going to have to prove he's done the strategy.
And I tell you what, that'll infuriate Jamie Griffiths, or Jimmy Wright, seeing Jamie Griffiths come out in front of him on the sauce, having seen the track dry. But you know what? Give it a lap or two, and it will be a completely bone-dry track. Man, how do we read the end of this? Jordan is losing loads of time now to Iceman, so he's going to be reserved to that 4th place. I think even if Kieran pits, there's a chance he may well actually beat Jordan. He's done a fantastic job as Kieran. His pace has been extraordinary since the restart. And so if he is set to pit again, I would be a bit of a shame to see it's all going to waste. But the track does look near enough dry. We'll obviously look for the DRS enabled notification. But I think if he has to make a mandatory stop, he's got to do it now if he wants to take any advantage out of a new set of sauce. Although Jamie Griffiths is losing time, I believe, to the car in front of him. Or is he? No. Oh, sorry, no, he is absolutely flying out to the back. So Kieran, where will he end up? I suppose he'll be aiming here for that podium position when he comes back out. But what this means now is that ST Matt on a bone-dry track, this is a bone-dry track now, on the intermediate tyres, has to try and coax his car to the checkered flag to take his first ever JACKOCAR Cup Series victory and take a commanding lead in the chase. This is a big moment in his season, as we see Kieran coming back out of the pits. There's a yellow flag for Risky again on the dries, and Risky, he's obviously a lap down, but Kieran comes out of the pits. Jordan's pitted as well. That's why I can't see him. So Jordan's lost out to MK Bourne in that.
Okay, so to put it into context for you, SD would be earning 20 points over Pete. So that put him 17 clear. He's ahead of Yori. He's ahead of Okeke, who's been DSQ. Ben Harrett's a lap down. MK Bourne, the nearest real challenger to
Yori.
SD today. God. So SD be leading the chase. Yori out of this race. But it's too late for a safety car.
Well, what's just come out now? Something's
It's a VSE.
come out.
VSE again.
No, it's not. There's nothing. There's just 2 incidents on the track. Actually, that's what it is.
Okay.
It's
2 yellow flags.
Yeah. And I tell you what, that was ST Match nearly went to the back of Risky there, as he comes across the line to start the final lap of this race on the Joker, which he did, in fairness, throw away, but he threw it away at the perfect moment. He has judged this race absolutely perfectly so far. We'll keep our eye on Kieran as well, see if he can close up and take 2nd place on the last lap. He's got by far the best tyres out there against Iceman's struggling intermediates, and I tell you what, he may well be able to catch by the end of this lap. But it really is now all eyes on ST Mats, because this is a chase driver coming through in the 2nd round of the playoffs, and he's absolutely going to take this by the horns and take a crucial first ever victory. And it'll be a 10th different winner in 13 races as we lose Risky at the first corner.
ST Mats, it's his 38th start in JACKOCAR. He's had 10 laps led up until this race, 212 points, 6 top 5s, 18 top 10s, and he's been here since day one. And now he's only 2 corners away from picking up his first ever win and a hefty lead in the chase, which would put him potentially halfway through the chase.
Look how
into the championship fight, but
he's
the
going.
Gap
He
is closing.
He is.
But it doesn't matter, Owen. It doesn't matter. He's gonna do it. A new race winner, number 28 in JACKOCAR in the Cup Series. It's SD Mats who goes through. It doesn't go through. Takes the lead of the chase.
I tell you
what
what,
a drive.
He was about as careful as I've seen anyone through that last sector. He really did not want to throw that one away, and he didn't. And finally, I've been here since the first ever race of the Cup Series. I've been waiting for the day where the number 15 car takes the checkered flag, and it's happened. Let's go, SD Mats, taking the best number in the world to the best position in the world of P1. So well done, my friend. Good job. What a drive. Iceman and Kieran complete the podium, and NK Bourne with a season best finish, I believe, of 4th place. That's a good day for him, but unfortunately with a chase driver winning, he still loses ground, and on a normal day a P4 for a chase driver would be like a win. But SD Mats is the one taking the win. Jordan P5, really good day for him in the playoffs. He will certainly be well in the hunt now to get easily, potentially, through to the next round. So could he still qualify for that Championship 5? Leader had such a bad day in that 4th place in the playoffs, and pretty much everyone did, didn't they, from 4th down, apart from Jordan. So a big day for him.
I do believe, by the way, Iceman has advanced with that performance. We'll come back to you at some point. That'll be a popular win though, Owen. Big win for Esti.
Definitely a popular winner. I'll tell you what, that is... I'd argue that was the best race of the season so far as well. That had drama from start to finish. I mean, the most exciting start to a league race I've ever seen. And then the safety car timing with the rain and how genuinely no one knew what was happening because there was no DRS enabled or disabled indicator, which you normally have in those conditions to tell you about what's happening. It really was just absolute luck almost, it felt like. But at the end of that lottery that was the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, it is Esti Mats taking his first ever victory from 13th on the grid. Perfectly managed race. Isan from pole finishes second place, Kieran third, MK Bourne from 19th finishes fourth, Jordan ends up in fifth, Casper 17th to 6th, good day for him, Jamie in 7th, the Jamie 6th, 7th and 8th, Gareth 9th, Leroy 10th, Jake 11th, having led for so long, Jess, Ben, Yuri, Risky. I mean, there's retirement start from Yuri. So Yuri, Risky, Pete, Corey, Michelle Goris, Connor, and OKK. But yeah, I think Casper then, not actually all that bad, finishing 6th in the end, considering all the struggles he had. So I'd say him and Jordan, really big days for both of those two in the championship, and of course Esti Mats. 3 drivers we could well see in the championship 5.
Yes, it's Gareth who actually loses out despite having such a good race and 2 very well timed pit stops.
Oh, and I tell you what, if that's true, what he's just said in the chat, Esti Mats, I don't know if you've seen this, that he only remembered midway through the race he was on the Joker. Could you imagine if he'd forgotten? Could you imagine? Because it would have cost him a first ever victory.
Amazing.
I mean, that is... I'd almost... that is... A win in the chase is the biggest win you'll ever win, apart from maybe the championship by itself. But a win there almost... I wouldn't say guarantees you a spot, but it gives you an unbelievably good chance of getting through.
Correct me if I'm wrong as well, that is only the second time we've ever had a chase driver win a playoff race that isn't a Championship 5. Janel being the other one in Season 3 at Bahrain Short.
And I'll tell you what as well, we've had 2 chase winners this week. Because obviously Quinn, I believe it was, won in Monza for the Kia Series. So it's been a very good week if you are a chase driver. And well, like I say, we're staying in the Americas for the rest of the season. The last leg of the South American trip will be in Mexico City next week. And I tell you what, that was an absolute classic last season as well. So if you thought that was good, make sure you first of all watch last season's race in Mexico, come back next Thursday and watch us do it all over again. Thank you all very much for watching. Hope you've all enjoyed the race. That has been probably the best race of the season so far. We lose the next 2 drivers of the playoffs next week. Do not miss it, and safe travels everybody.